I'm looking at all the things that are behind you. Oh, yes, I see. This meeting is being recorded. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I got immediately distracted by the things right behind you because there's the Kermit the Frog like right over your shoulder. So what is that doing there?
Kermit is a Kermit's a voice I did when my kids were growing up, and
Oh,
I just love his character. Like he's just random and funny and authentic, and I think we need more Kermits in the world. So
I'm
he's
really,
fun.
really happy to hear you say that because Kermit is a favorite thing. Like just I'm one of those people that I've been forbidden to DJ at parties anymore because I'll put Rainbow Connection in the mix and people are like, why are we listening to the Muppets right now? They're like, you're not allowed to do this anymore. So yeah.
That'll do it. Yeah. No, that's a good one. In fact, he does a song. If I put batteries in him, then he'll sing.
He sings.
He sings. Yeah. So he sings. I'm a Caribbean amphibian. I can't remember how the rest of the song goes.
Oh no, I
Da,
need
da, da, da,
one.
da, 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 da,
Where did you get this
Caribbean.
magical item?
I don't remember. I've had
Oh,
him
I'm
for
gonna look
so
for that.
long.
I need a
He's
singing
come with me
Kermit in my
my
life.
whole life that I can't even remember where he came from. Yeah.
That is wonderful. I'm so glad I asked. All right, before I derail all of this completely, I realized in my very first podcast, I never introduced myself. So I'm going to start with that and then I'll ask you to introduce yourself as well. So my name is Jackie Shelley. Anybody, and eventually this is going to be turned into an audio recording and posted. And I'm doing a podcast. And Bryan, I know you've volunteered to be an interview guest on this podcast and you know nothing about it. And no one knows anything about it because there's like almost nothing posted yet. But the podcast was originally called Jackie is Accidentally in Charge. I started it during the pandemic and then didn't record any episodes for 5 years until my office mate was listening to me do like a ridiculous rant on some political topic and turned to me and was like, "You would make a great podcast host." And I was like, "You know what? You're right, and you should do it with me." So I recruited my coworker Irvin, and he and I have been working together on this podcast. So now the podcast has been updated to be called Jackie and Irvin Are Accidentally in Charge. So the podcast is about storytelling. My idea is to get people to kind of laugh first and then think later. So there's a lot of humor involved. Um, and we're now doing a lot of interviews because over the years, I've just been kind of like almost collecting amazing humans and kind of a human curator of sorts. And very few people know how many people I know or the extent to like it reaches all the way from like homeless people on the street to like the tops of companies. They're all over the world. Like I just have this incredible, and I just want to share them. And even just the stories about how I met some of these
Mm,
people. And you and I have some of that back. I
mm.
mean, when we get to that part, there's some things we've already done together or stories about our time. So anyway, that's me. I didn't say much about who I am, but basically, uh, that's because I'm hard to sum up. But my bio says I'm an artist, and that's probably the main thing people know me for. So, so how about you? Like, tell me how you would sum up yourself, and
Mm.
feel free to introduce yourself.
Let's see. So my name's Bryan Kramer, and I've was born, raised, lived my whole life in San Jose, California, and my career took on a challenge of transformation in almost everything that I did, and so that became like a running theme or a thread, and in what really jazzed me up. I love transformation in every walks of life, and so um, that worked my way through communications and marketing and advertising agencies until I got offered a position to kind of run my own interactive agency within a bigger company, and that grew and did well within the .com era behind us, and so then started a agency of our own. My wife and I, Courtney, who you know, and
Mm-hmm.
And so we started
Which
that.
is, I think, around when I met you was when you were in the middle
Yeah,
of that, right? Hmm.
2001 is when we started it. And so
Okay, so we were a little later. We didn't meet till more
maybe
like
just after.
2012 or
Yeah.
no, it was like,
Yeah. And
yeah,
then
2011, 2012, something like that. Hmm.
that sounds right. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so yeah, we grew it. We ended up having about 30 employees or a $30 million agency, and it really cracked the world open into opportunity and possibility. A lot of it was, working with larger companies like Netflix and Cisco and MasterCard and really cool companies. But at one point, I also
So
started.
Bay Area.
I know, right? Yeah, and I
It really is. We
started.
don't realize like how amazing it is that they're all clustered here, I think, until I talk to people from elsewhere and then I go, oh, right. You don't just have like a bunch of giant tech companies camped on your back step. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you could throw a rock and a company that everybody knows.
Yeah.
And so yeah, and then I started speaking. That was my degree in college was communications, but I started speaking again mid mid agency life career, and that blossomed into what became a couple books. The first one's H to H, Human to Human, and the second one,
Yeah.
Shareology. And then that created a kind of a whole onslaught of speaking. I was traveling 200 days a year. Ended up
Oh
doing
my gosh.
TED Talk, and that helped it to almost create more opportunity. And then eventually I burned out, and because there was nowhere else to go with that amount of time that I was spending both on the road away from my littles, my kids,
Yeah.
and I was overeating, over drinking, over everything, and I just burned out. So eventually I asked Courtney if I could exit, and not our marriage, but everything else.
Right.
And so she agreed it was the right thing to do, and so we downsized everything, and I ended up taking myself in a whole different U-turn direction, and took a time off, and I reversed everything. So I lost 85 pounds, I lost diabetes, I took my kids to school, picked them up most days, and it really just was a fascinating time in my life. And then eventually I found executive coaching as the thing that I now know that I want to be when I grow up, that I've now been doing for the last 6 years. And so I've loved every inch of it, and I could see myself doing this the rest of my life. So I advise companies and coach them on growth, and not burning out at the same time. So yeah, that's
Wow.
that's who I am.
That is quite an amazing journey. And also, just I have both of our bio pages open just in preparation. And I was thinking about how we're kind of coming at the same thing from opposite sides almost. It's like, which is a feeling I have a lot with probably the people I've invited to be on this show, because like my own journey has been characterized by like a lot of failures basically, or just like I didn't ever get to the top level of anything. Like I'm always like I'm still working at a retail job, I'm working in a bottom level kind of entry level position. I don't make a lot of money, and partly it's because I've changed hats so many times, or I've done a lot of different things, or taking a lot of time off to be with my children, like you described. When you burned out and you were taking your children to school, that was what I chose to do with my life instead of having a career. Right? I stayed home and helped take care of my parents and was there to pick my kids up from school every day. So a lot of women have to make that choice because of child, you know, stuff, not being able to afford childcare, things like that. And it's pretty common, my experience, right? Like I was a college professor at age 25, and then I took this big gap, and now I'm trying to go back, and they're like, nope, there's a gap, you can't come back. And I'm like, why am I being punished for prioritizing things that were actually more important? Like,
Mm.
so I don't know, but I feel like the thrust is still toward like, can we make a life that is a whole life and not just have a career or just have a success or just do a thing that's cool? You know, can we like look at the big picture? And I feel like somehow you've really like done that work or taken the time to examine that question in the
Mm,
time since I've seen you last. Like when I look at what you're writing and what you're posting, it really resonates. So just curious about, maybe let's go straight there. Like, what was the burnout like? Like, what
mm.
happened?
Yeah. It it was it was slow until it wasn't, and then it was hard hitting. The burnout uh, was me adding things in that helped numb myself, that created a distance. I just tried to distance myself from feeling and from um, connecting into myself. I was always chasing. So
Mm-hmm.
while from the outside looking in, it was me traveling or in airplanes or on stages. From the inside, it was X-ray machines and at airports and lost luggage and the next thing I have to leave for tomorrow, and I haven't been home in 2 weeks. So it was a very difficult time for me. There's a lot of people out there that can do it really well and seamlessly and still take care of themselves, and I've learned a better way to do that than who
Mm-hmm.
who I think I was, and a lot of that really came to fruition when I just completely looked in like the proverbial mirror and just did not know who I was anymore. It
Do you
was
remember that moment? Like, do you remember where you were or what you were thinking? Like, I'm always really interested in that moment, when people have that, like either hitting bottom or realizing they need to change. Like, do you remember what it was like?
Yeah, the bottom for me was actually when my 11-year-old, he's now 21, but he pulled me aside and he said, when I was home one day, and he said, "Dad," and he pulled my hand and sat me on his bed and he said, "We have to talk." And I was like, "Okay." And he said, you're so as only 11-year-olds can say, he's direct and honest, and he's like, "You're fat and uh you have diabetes and you're never home, you're never at our school functions, you're not very happy, and I don't think that you're going to get to meet your grandkids because you're going to die before that happens." And
Oh,
it just
wow.
that was the moment when my whole soul just went, and I just started tearing up, and I heard what he said and it hit me right in the gut. And I was
Oh my
just I couldn't.
God, what a gift. What
Yeah.
a gift.
Yeah,
Like,
so that was the
wow.
moment that I knew I needed to do something about it, and I had a chance to do something at that point. I wasn't too late. um and so
Well,
I
that's what's
think.
amazing is that you did, right? Like, so, in the wake of that realization, like, there's often this moment where you just get paralyzed. You don't know what to do, right? Like, how did you choose? Like, what did you use a process? Like, did you sit down and make a list, or what did you do once you
Well,
knew?
so the first thing I had to focus on was health. I just
Hmm.
Health had to be number one. And so that was my whole list, was health.
Do you think that's always true?
No, no, health is now very important to me, but
Hmm.
it's not the same in the priority list. It's still in
Okay.
the top three, but I wouldn't say that it's something where, because
Is it maybe like top priority if it's something someone hasn't been prioritizing?
yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah, it was deprioritized. It wasn't even in my top
Hmm.
five, or 10, maybe.
Hmm.
It really got lowered. So I think raising it up to the top and saying this has got to be primary, because if I could change my mental health and I can change my
Hmm.
physical health, then
Yeah.
I think everything else can change. But until I change those two things, I can't change anything else. And so I had to look at what I ate and what I put in my mouth. I had to look at, how I moved, how often I moved, and where I did it. And I hired a health coach to help figure out like where to work out, what to eat. I had a
Hmm.
person who was also a doctor and designed a meal plan, and I really just like I dedicated 2 years. I said I'm not gonna give myself 6 months because then I'll get there and I'll be like, oh, you failed. I wanted to give myself a healthy time perspective to make incremental progress, but see it. So it was a 2 year process of really losing all that weight. And I remember walking
Hmm.
in right around that time frame into my doctor's office and getting my blood results, and she said, your A1C is normal. You present like you have
Yeah.
no diabetes. And I was like, boom, okay. So now I know I can that and at the same time when I fixed that, it was almost like everything else started working. It was like I didn't even have to
Hmm.
worry about everything else, because that really did become a domino effect on the rest of my life.
That's really interesting. Just, I don't know. I'm always interested. So, one of the common threads between a lot of the people I meet is that often they've had some kind of big life change, whether it's like, losing a person of significance or losing a major job or just, something that is that kind of like hitting bottom or having a major insight and completely changing your path, And I'm always really interested in that question of why some people are able to do it and others not. Lots of people hit bottom, lots of people struggle. I mean, that's common, but very few people are able to like rebuild after having that insight. And I'm curious about that, like,
Mm,
and it's funny because, ostensibly this is like a humor show, and there will be quite a lot of, joking around and humor, especially when Irvin is present with me. And you know me from many years of knowing me online, and you know that I can't resist being ridiculous. So there will be a lot of joking, but there's a serious question kind of at the heart of everything, and it's like, how do people change? Like not just like there's a lot of other questions related to that, like why, or like why should we, or why do we need to, or maybe we don't need to. I don't know. There's more there, but how is hard
yeah,
and different each time. Like nobody's story is the same, right?
right. Yeah.
Even with that same pattern of like, things were going wrong and I had a realization and I changed what I was doing. Like nobody's story has the same um, exact ingredients. So
Yeah.
finding this like magic recipe is maybe there isn't one though, I don't know. We'll find out after I do a lot of these interviews, maybe.
Mm,
Who knows? But I think it's really incredible to watch. Like even I just got bits of your transformation, but I remember when you were doing the weight loss and posting updates about it, and there's something really wonderful about watching somebody make that kind of positive change even from a distance. Like it tends to like be infectious too. Like
mm.
when you do it, it tends to um kind of like you don't even know who you're inspiring necessarily, right? Like
Yeah.
it tends to have unanticipated good effects. So
Yeah. Oh my God, so many and unintentional consequences. I'd say that the thing that I had to learn the most was to stop future tripping and stop past tripping. Um, the,
yeah,
the
okay.
those were the things that got me into trouble. It's where it got my head into the refrigerator, if you will. Once
Yeah,
I started thinking
yeah.
about what's going to happen tomorrow, or what's going to happen
So
next
with
week or six
that,
months from
let
now.
me ask, like, was meditation part of this transformation?
Big time.
Because
Big
yeah,
time. Yeah.
that's I think
Yeah.
an element. Hmm.
Yeah. In fact, I put myself into a 10-day silent meditation retreat for into what I call Buddha camp. But it was no reading, no writing, no speaking, no eye contact, and 10 days of being basically a monk alone. And it informed me on so many levels of how to observe what we're thinking and be
Hmm.
still unattached from it, if that makes any sense, so that you are
Oh
not
yeah.
thoughts, and then creating a new association with who you are, and it was just awesome. It was beautiful.
Can I tell you a crazy story about that? Like, I recently did a course, like a 2 week kind of not a class, but like individual coaching with someone who's a meditation teacher. But before he was a meditation teacher, he was a bull rider in the rodeo. And so I kind of just adore that, like, as soon as I met this person, I was like, I was already, I'm going to back up and tell the story properly. So basically, at the time, I was working in the frame shop at Hobby Lobby here in Morgan Hill, which I do again now. And he came in to get something framed, and mentioned that he worked at the rodeo, and I've always wanted to go to the rodeo wearing a T-shirt that says "This is in fact my first rodeo," because I use that expression a lot, and I haven't actually been to a rodeo, and I think it would just be really funny. And you know me, I will go like way out of my way to do a joke. Like I will do more work for a joke than I will ever do for anything serious. So I've been wanting to do. So he said he worked for the rodeo, and I was like, cool, I'm going to go see you ride bulls in the rodeo. I'm going to wear this T-shirt. But then the next things out of his mouth were like, and I'm opening a meditation school. And I was like, I'm getting your phone number right now because like those two things don't usually go together at all. So and it's been really delightful to get to know this person. But yeah, so my meditation teacher is a former bull riding cowboy, and basically to connect back to where we started, that realization about how often I'm looking back, or more often I don't tend to look back. I'm very much like past is dead, can't do anything about it, moving right along, like kind of the rejection thing yesterday, right? Like didn't get the job, fine, if you guys don't see how awesome I am, I'm not going to waste any more time on this. Like I will go find something else more interesting to do with my time. I don't have a lot of it, and I'm going to go fill it up with something cooler. But I go right into, and what am I going to do now? And that future to-do list is always there, right? And at this point, the number of things I would love to do with my life is far longer than the amount of life I likely have. Like there is no way I could possibly do all the projects and things that I've dreamed up or wanted, been interested in or whatever. And I have been talking about this topic because Chris Gillibo just wrote a book recently called Time
Mhm.
Anxiety, and I went to see him, when he was on his book tour, and he really covers the same topic. But that future thing, right, where you're like thinking about what's coming and completely missing everything that's happening today, right now, is
Yeah.
something I'm really learning. And meditation was like, people have kind of been on the mindfulness, you know, thing. It's everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. It's like gotten into corporate stuff too. Like it's to the point where it's so ubiquitous that I think you tune it out. And then one day it's one of those things where all of these pieces of advice, it's not like we don't know we're supposed to eat our veggies and exercise, and you hear it, what's good for you, but you just kind of like, it gets to where you just tune it all out because it's noise. And then
Hmm.
one day you hear the same thing and you're like, be here now. Whoa. And it's like profound, like you're on a drug trip or something. And when it really gets in, it gets in.
Hmm.
It gets in. And that's kind of where I am too. That I did this little meditation thing and suddenly I was like, oh, look at
Hmm.
that busy mind. Wow. So I don't know. I'm glad to hear that. I feel like I'm sort of on the right track, like, um, because I am careening all over the place while I sort of
Hmm.
reinvent my life for the millionth time. but hearing this from people that I admire is reassuring, you know? Like,
Hmm.
so
Yeah. Yeah, see that what I love about all that is you're able to see your mind and observe the mind, and that's the whole point. It's not to slow it down or speed it up or try to control it. It's just to become the observer of it. And when you can do that and just be okay and unattached with your thoughts, that they're not your thoughts. They are
yeah.
um they're random disassociated thoughts that are showing up, and so for you to observe it and just be an audience member is really cathartic, and then you can actually have fun just being in the moment watching what's unfolding, and that is presence. That's sheer presence right there, is just to allow it to be.
Yeah, I find it really challenging. I mean, I think we mostly do, but I don't know, like in the recent years, like starting around the pandemic era, one of my family members was diagnosed with autism. And during the pandemic, when I was kind of stuck home, I had time to deep dive into it. And I really quickly realized that I'm on the autistic spectrum, and most of my family members are neurodivergent in some way. I already knew I had ADD. So, like, now they've kind of rolled it together and call it, ADHD is like, and it seems to fit really well. And the more I dig into, like, how that difference works, that the busy mind thing is definitely part of being that way. Like
Mm.
it's like I think typical people are already, everyone has, when they try to meditate, they have that busy mind and they can observe the thoughts. Like that's everyone's experience, but like I feel like I have that, and then it's like times 50, and like this,
Mm.
like all the channels are really loud, and so it's been particularly useful in kind of coming to terms with like that realization and understanding that my brain just works a little different. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I understand. I have ADHD as well, and it's a constant struggle to be not moving
Mm-hmm.
and just to be focused. I have the kind though where I become hyper focused on something. So if somebody says something
Mm-hmm.
outside of here, I won't hear it. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
but
Mm-hmm.
combined with the noise and the mess and all that, and so it becomes kind of to me, it's a game of how can I like really like use like what tool is available to just like focus in and be here and then noticing like my head wanting to move or wanting to get up, like
Mm-hmm.
asking what's that
Mm-hmm.
about and why do I need that, and really challenging myself to sit in the mess of it and just be okay with wanting to move and asking myself why is that, and so this is the constant loop that we're all in, right? Like it's the
Right.
giant
Right.
hairball of thoughts, and so how do we just enjoy the moment like that we're in, and then whatever the next thing is, just do the next right thing. Like it's that that simple, but it's not that simple.
Yeah. It's that simple, but it's not that simple. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Simple things are not necessarily easy. All the good advice is simple, like
Mm.
buy low, sell high, eat your vegetables, like get enough sleep. I mean, they're not easy. If they were
Mm.
easy, everybody would just be like doing it all the time. Like
Hmm.
none of it is easy. Like health is not easy.
Yeah.
And like, that's what I'm finding. I mean, um, and it's not even just health, like because I'm looking at all these different narratives all the time that are coming up and kind of trying to um, find ones that work better, like maps that work better, all these different models, all these different ways of looking at the world, and I've tried on a bunch of different ones over the years. But there's this idea of like health as like something's wrong with you and you have to fix it. And um, there's this healing journey, and sometimes it goes forward and sometimes it goes back, and all of that is true. But I don't think the goal is like to fix yourself. It's more like to be whole, right? Like to be able to cope with the bad and the good, or to enjoy the bad things that
Yeah.
happen as much as the good things. And there's always this tendency with these models to like want it to be the toxic positivity model of health, where it's like we're just going to ignore all the bad and stuff it down, and we're not going to deal with the negative emotions or like the shadow work or whatever it is, you know. And it turns out like you can't cut out parts like at all, like
Mm,
it, you know, and be a whole person, you know. And
mm,
that's I think way harder, way harder.
mm,
But it's simple. It's not complicated. The more you want to like make it complicated and go out and read like, you know, 500 books about it, like I've
mm,
done, you know, you can do that, but you always know that it's not that, you know. So I don't know. I feel like I'm just preaching to the choir and just making you go.
mm. No, I love it. I think,
Mhm.
well, I mean, giving ourselves permission to be our whole selves, right? Like how, who we show up.
That too,
I
yeah.
mean, that's really the hardest part is just like take it or leave it. This is who I am. This is what I bring.
Well, we're all
This is
running
how
around
I,
preaching that on social media, and a lot of us have been for a long time. The I can't even say the word authenticity. And even back when you and I were on Twitter and we were kind of getting to know each other, people were really like, you have to, you know, personal brand, and you have to be you and authentic, and like that's been the kind of mainstream thing for a bit. And then when I got to the neurodivergence and got to like unmasking, it turns out that being your authentic self as a neurodivergent person is really not received well generally, and can have some pretty negative consequences. So, like all these people shouting about how we should be authentic, I'm starting to be a little like, I don't think you mean what you think you mean by that, because it turns out it's fine to be authentic if you're kind of like everybody else, but when you're not, try that, you know. I don't know. So I have this, you can feel my hostility now toward that, like,
mm,
yeah, let's just all be ourselves. And I'm like, I actually have to mask to get by quite a bit. To hold down a
mm,
job, I have to show up as someone that's not my full authentic self, as it turns out, and that's working better for me. So,
mm,
but I'm doing it on purpose and with volition and choice. I'm not, it's not just being forced on me anymore, you know.
mhm.
But I don't get to just go to work and like just be who I am. Like that's not how my experience of life, you know, like
Yeah,
yet. I mean, I may find work that I can do that's more, you know, unmasking friendly, but right now, you know,
yeah.
so
And I would wonder if anybody is really like who they are at home, at work.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
that's not you know, you're not gonna pull up a bowl of cereal and a Zoom meeting and
I
in your
am I am in my
pajamas and
PJs right now, so I don't know. I guess
well,
this
I
is
mean,
not
you
work
know,
work. This is not my
in a
paid work. So
boardroom,
yeah.
in a boardroom setting,
I
not for an
don't know,
audio
Bryan. I
podcast.
haven't been in a boardroom, so you have a different life path than me. Uh, although we did, you know, I'm thinking about, I did want to tell some of the stories of like how you and I met, because I was thinking about um the what was it, 90 Days to Ellen project or whatever, that there was that. And then another story I do remember about you was going to blog, was it not Blog World, Dreamforce, and
Mm,
you got me in to see Colin Powell. You were one of the people that was there, and then you went along with me where I was like, let's go have dinner with these, and you're like, who are these people? And I'm like, I don't know, I just met them on Twitter, and you went anyway. So like, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is twice now. Like last time I was just like, hey, let's go to dinner with these random people. And you're like, okay. And this time
mm,
I'm like, hey, be on my podcast. And you're like, I know nothing about it, I'm in. And I'm like,
mm,
Bryan, you have an unusual like ability to kind of like just go with the flow. That is
mm.
not typical. But so yeah, we've already done some things back in the day, kind of the first time we bumped into each other. So
I remember Salesforce, and I remember that time, and I remember Colin Powell's speech leaving a
yeah,
lifelong impact on me for how he showed up. I don't remember exactly what he said, but I remember how he made me feel, and it was
yeah,
so
yeah.
uh, incredible to see that. I remember that moment, and I do remember you saying, I don't know who these people are. And I was like, all right, let's go. But that was a really cool speech that we saw. That was cool.
It was so unexpected. And I mean, for me, I think, didn't I like, it was like you had like a press pass, and we went, and like I had to like set my computer up and kind of like pretend to be a journalist to be able to sit where we were sitting because it was like a press area or whatever. And I just kind of like got on my laptop and I'm like, yeah, totally a real journalist. Like
Oh,
it
that's
was like
interesting.
it was comical. Like from my, for me, I wasn't supposed to be there. Like you just kind of let me which is my favorite way to be places,
Yeah.
is when I'm not supposed to. Yeah. But yeah, I just end up like some odd places over time. But anyway, so yes, I agree. I remember Colin Powell being really, it's like he has a kind of gravity or something. And there's not a lot of people that you just know they've seen and done some stuff. Like you feel that when they're in the room,
Hmm.
and it's really special when you get a chance to hear someone like that. So thank you for sneaking me in. Now that I'm like, now we can tell the story. No, but also the other thing I remember about that meeting is that that was post divorce number one for me. I'm on number two now, and I'm kind of in a similar thing. And I was floating around Dreamforce kind of as a single woman, and in social media as a single woman at the time. And I remember, and I've said it multiple times afterward, you're one of the few guys ever to hang out with me for the day and take me out to a bar and buy me a drink and not hit on me or make me uncomfortable in any way. And I was so impressed because
Oh.
that is actually very rare. Like I have been around this scene a lot. I've hung out with a lot of people, and people's behavior tends to be pretty bad when they think no one's watching, and you're the you are on camera when you're off camera. And I really value that trait, like when I find people
Mm.
like that. And so thank you for that. And yeah,
Oh,
I appreciate that about you.
received and thank you. It's funny when I'm not funny, but when I'm at conferences and I have uh, not to take away from that moment, but there's I feel that like I'm innately kind of a feminist, and so
Mm-hmm.
kind of feel the vibe a little bit, and nothing gets me angrier or upset if I can get angry, but not, you know what I mean? It's just kind of like there's a, you're right, the kind of curtain falls, if you will, and it all, and people just become like, it's like that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas kind of moment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And man, it's just one of those things that just completely takes a relationship down, or a moment down,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and it's not
Which, I
who we
mean,
want to
don't get
be.
me wrong, I've been part of that in the past, and I probably will be again. Like, I definitely am the type of person that gets swept up in things, and this whole thing is complex. It actually kind of influences this show because many of the people I've collected are people that I was flirting with or having some kind of like fling with or whatever, and all of that is like separate from our professional connection. So like it's like there's, if I bring them on the show and interview them, that's not going to be part of the conversation, so you'll never know. Now people are going to have to wonder like which ones. But yeah, but there is that element, and it complicates things, and so when it's not an issue, it's a relief. It's like, okay, I don't have to like juggle these two things. But I'm not always well behaved myself. So, that's probably why I value it when I find it in other people. I'm like, oh, cool, maybe I can learn to do this better from people like you. Like, behave more. But no, also you took me seriously, and most people don't. Like, I remember we were talking about like social media, and I don't remember at all what we talked about or what we said, but I remember that you took me seriously, and most people don't. Like I complain a lot that people don't listen, and I feel like I really love when I find someone that is like, I'm going to give you the respect to like actually treat you like you're an intelligent person. And I'm just like, thank you. Because yes, I am a clown, and yes, I am a flirt, and yes, I am all these other things, but I'm also like here because I really want to learn, and like do things at the end of the day, and I'm not just here to party and like goof off,
Mhm.
you know. That too. Can I do both at the same time? Like
Hell
I just I
yeah.
you know, I summed it up as like I want to make cool things with kind people and have a good time while I'm doing it. Like that's what I want to do. And as long as I'm doing that, I'm okay. You know, like the
Yeah.
content of those baskets can shift, but so that's what, you know, that's what I want this to be. But anyway, when my experience has been that the few times that we've managed to hang out, it's always been like that, and I appreciate that. So.
I'd agree. I'd agree. It's been really good. I remember them well, and I'm glad that we stayed connected all these years, even across the ocean.
We didn't bring up Howie yet either. Oh my
Bring up.
goodness. The AI. I totally forgot. So you have some sort of AI assistant that helped us to make
Oh,
the
right.
appointment for
Yeah.
this interview, and I thought it was a real human and was like sweet talking the AI because I myself have been an executive assistant and I know they're often like the gateway to the people, you know, and so I was like, oh, cool, I'm an executive assistant too, and like we, you know, whatever, and then like when I was saving the email address is when I saw the AI in the email. And that's the only way I knew he was an AI. I actually really thought Howie was a real person. That's a little scary, Bryan. Like we're in a new era where you don't know who's human anymore. You've got a human to human thing behind you, and you sent me an AI to make
Mhm.
this. Okay, tell me what's going on there. Like, why do you use
So
that?
I'm all for AI. I think that, and
Uh-huh.
and I like technology. Anything that brings us together faster and more easily is my jam. So if I don't, the thing about Howie is he's always awake.
Right?
Howie, if I email and copy him at 9 p.m., people have written back, wow, you don't let him off work. And I'm like, he's an AI. So he's really pleasant. He's really nice about it. They've programmed it really well, and the
Well,
best
he's
part is that he
convincing
saves
for
me like I
sure.
don't know how many
Yeah.
hours a week. Just it's this
Yeah.
time that I really appreciate the most about the whole thing. But then all of a sudden that day when you were emailing him, I was at a conference and I got back from the conference and I saw all your emails and I was like, oh shoot.
No, yeah, I
Guess this
really
worked
fell
really
for it.
well.
Like, well, you know, and it's hilarious because our first podcast episode, which unfortunately the sound is not amazing because we're newbies and we kind of miffed one of the microphones, but Irvin and I had this conversation because I actually had an AI girlfriend for a bit, like a, you know, like one of the AI toys that I picked up at one of these conferences or whatever. And we covered that about like, can you have a relationship with an AI? And like, you know, some of that stuff is not new to me, but apparently like I already have difficulty with social things and that was part of the realizing about the autism stuff. But yeah, it was not obvious to me that I was interacting with an AI, and it was a little embarrassing. It's like, oh, I thought that was the person I was talking to. Oopsie.
Mm.
But I did think it was fascinating because I feel like it's everywhere now. And I just saw an article about people voice phishing with like fake generated. You can get where people call and like act like they need ransom or something, like where it's scary stuff, you know. And it's like we're gonna have to have these protocols for determining, is this really my son on the phone or is this, you know, and this is a whole new world. This is a whole new world, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I mean, there's good and there's bad with everything, right?
yeah.
So, when we were back in the day of back in the day of social
Back
media
in the
first
day.
coming online, it was, a lot of problems because now all of a sudden you're writing something publicly. So now everyone gets to
Yeah.
see what you're saying and they can also say something back. So it opened up
Right.
the
Mm-hmm.
same thing for companies when companies would write something publicly. or they would have somebody saying something bad about their company publicly, then that's
Yeah.
was a new thing at that time. And so what do we say and how do we respond? And so communication really evolved, I think, not just with the inflection of the internet, but just social media really changed the way forever how we show up publicly as ourselves or as companies. And so
Right.
AI is doing the same thing again. It's challenging us and saying, we have ethics involved, and how do we want to be with this? And
Hmm.
it's like everything else. It's on us. It's on us to shape those ethics and shape those ways. And so I think that's the biggest question right now is how do we want it to go? And man,
Yeah, I mean, it's not going to go away. It's here. It's the same questions we had when the internet kind of was still the World Wide Web and you would surf it. I don't know. That metaphor didn't ever work. I guess it was, or what was the surfing? Surfing was something else. It was like, I feel like that
like
was nothing to do with it being a web. There was a
internet
term,
surfing,
right? Yeah, like,
yeah,
I don't know,
like browsing.
I guess. Anyway, I'm old enough to remember that, but not, it's like, um, Silicon Valley. Where was I going with this? AI. It feels the same as that. Because I was there for kind of the birth of the internet as we know it. This feels very similar, but it feels like um, my kids are the ones that talk to Chat GPT. Like it's moved beyond me now.
Mhm.
Like I don't really understand it. I don't, I need help to like even keep up with um, you know, where it's going. So, but it is, I feel like it's going to be a thread that runs through all these conversations because all of us are coping with this, um, like just change. Like I was driving to San Francisco and all the billboards are about AI too. Like
Mhm.
everybody's pouring money into it. Even when I was interviewing for San Jose State, they were saying that
Mhm.
companies are offering them money to use AI in the classroom. Like
Mhm.
they want them to use theirs, right?
Mhm.
And there's going to be a lot of pressure on the universities to like use it with their students because the companies are like offering it for free and giving them perks to use it. And so there's going to be some weird things that come out of that, I think, you know. Yeah, we'll see. But I was fascinated that you have an AI assistant and then I mistook him for a person and tried to be friendly to him.
Well,
So,
that sometimes you know, a conversation with an AI can be a little more interesting than other conversations. I think there's a lot of different
do you
avenues
talk
coming.
to an AI? Like, do you use ChatGPT or any of those?
I do, but not to the voice one. I talk to
Mm-hmm.
it with the microphone on, and I'll talk to it. And actually, it's my son that got me doing that. He said,
Mm-hmm.
"Talk to it like and don't filter, just talk." and
Okay.
uh, and then and then see what it says when you don't filter and just talk. And he's even used it for like therapy and for
Right.
other ways. And I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. Me, I'll test and try anything. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I tried it and I thought it was really interesting. And then he took it to the next level and he said, now one thing I do, Dad, is I ask it to be really brutal to me and be like
Oh,
really honest,
wow.
like brutally honest. Like, you're a therapist, but I want you to tell me things that no therapist would ever say. And I'm like, I don't know if I want a therapist to
Oh
tell me
my,
that. But
your son sounds brilliant, by the way. Like I'm just thinking of being 11 and pulling your dad aside, and being like, "You're fat, get better," which sounds horrible, but it's like it worked, right?
yeah.
Like, and now he's like pushing the limits of what an AI
Oh,
can
he's
do, and
pushing
that's
it. There's a
fascinating.
there's a
Um,
five that there's Chat GPT can maintain up to 5,000 memories that you feed it. And the reason I know that is because he told me that he ran out of it. It popped up and said you have run out of memory. And you get he's basically everything that he told it over the course of I don't know how many months. He said I asked it, make sure to remember this, make sure to remember this, make sure to remember this. So it learned who he was, but he did it so much that he capped it.
It maxed it out. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like my son uses AI to, my son is in a death metal band and he uses AI to like design the artwork for his album covers and stuff. And I definitely have mixed feelings as an artist, because like a lot of my artist friends are very virulently anti AI because it, has been trained on their work and a lot of it's been taken without their consent. And, so I've avoided using AI in that way, even though occasionally I'll play with it. Like I'll do something, like I even before this iteration of AI, when it was still sort of like apps on your phone, I would do where it made it you could take a picture and make it look like a watercolor painting, and then I painted the picture to see how hard it would be to paint the painting that this AI did in like seconds. And it took me like a month to finish the painting that this thing threw up in like 30 seconds, and it
Mm.
wasn't even as good as and I'm like, okay, whoa, this is going to be a challenge for artists, that people now can just like go on their phone and use this software to make a convincing watercolor portrait, right? And anyway, so I have mixed feelings about that, but he does it and he's really into it and he knows how to like make the prompts work and things. And I'm just like, okay, I feel like I'm being left behind by this technology. And you know I don't know, I guess, but it's kind of like being a somebody who rides and trains horses in like the era of the automobile. Like it's not like the horses all went away. It's just it became this little tiny
Right.
niche thing, So
Yeah.
I feel like maybe I can still carve out a little space in this world, but I just I worry about what it's doing to artists,
Mm.
um, and it's again, it's too late. Genie's out of the bottle. It's here.
Hmm.
So now it's just figuring out what we do. I don't know, the 1950s era, like sort of golden age science fiction and sort of like the stuff that led to the like Star Trek kind of universes where it's very like a happy vision of the future or whatever. And it was always like all this technology is going to make it so we don't have to work so hard and everybody will be better off and we all have more free time and can be with our families, and like, I don't know. That doesn't seem to be what's happening at all. And I'm like, I hate to say it, but I think the dystopian writers were on the right track with it,
Mm.
and it's disturbing. So,
Yeah, it's fun to pontificate. And apologies, I have to go here because
oh yeah, no worries.
another
Yeah,
meeting.
I
But
figured.
I have you know, a feeling that like everything else, it's going to turn out okay. That's my
Yeah,
dystopian view on the whole thing, that we're all going to be fine. And we love to pontificate because the movies have told us that this is the worst that's going to happen, and we should be worried about that. But
yeah. I
also at
mean,
the same
one of
time,
the first
it's
science
here to make our
fiction.
lives better, and to make every
Yeah,
day better. So I think that that's kind of where I'm looking, and where I feel.
I love that you're gonna end on that optimistic note. Yeah, I was gonna say, sorry to interrupt, but I get excited. What I was gonna say is like one of the first science fiction books, famously, is Frankenstein, right? Like, and it's literally like the thing we've created comes and destroys us, sort of.
Yeah.
That's a really common idea too. So, and those two ideas, like the idealistic one and the destructive one, are always kind of like which one's going to, and maybe the answer is some other thing that's not these two things, but I'm glad that you're optimistic as ever. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you you are officially the first guest on our show. And
Oh,
I get to figure out how to turn this into a audio recording and get it up there so people can hear it. But I really appreciate you taking this time. Thank you so
my
much.
pleasure. And thank you for asking me. I'm honored to be the first, and the first of
Yay.
many that I'm sure are going to be awesome. Say hello to my future friends that you're going to be talking to. And it's really good to
Oh,
see
you will
you.
you will recognize some of the people upcoming. Yes, indeed.
Good, good.
It
Thank you. Oh, it was good to see you.
was good to see you too. I hope I talk to you again sometime.
All right.
Farewell.
Bye bye.